Greetings. I'm your host, Jason Myles, and welcome to another episode of This is Revolution Podcast. This will be our special Juneteenth edition. Happy Black Day off, everyone. That's right. It's Black Day off. Even the post office is closed. You're welcome. You're welcome, America. If you are a returning listener, subscriber, so glad to have you back. Thank you so much for joining us today. We usually do a red zone or a pop life or just something different on Wednesday, but today being Juneteenth, Tucson always puts all the holidays on the calendar, and we don't usually do special shows, but the gang's all here, as in the black gang of the gang. This will be a special segregated Juneteenth episode as well. Let's just jump right in. Someone says, do I get reparations credit for watching this? Reparations credit? I don't know how that works. Like on your tax bill? Like, do you get a deduction? You only get a deduction if you adopt a young black child, like one of the rich Hollywood celebrities. That's what the rule book says. Let's talk a little bit about Black power to Blaxploitation. In the late 60s, a rash of riots turned many urban enclaves to smoldering ash. For years, white residents had abandoned the inner cities, finding sanctuary in new suburban developments. In addition, the economic basis of the cities had been ravaged as factory after factory closed down. The American city was becoming a dilapidated and racially segregated wasteland. Just as blacks were finally being allowed into good union jobs, those jobs were evaporating due to deindustrialization. This degenerative, I can't even talk, state of affairs was made worse by the fact that with the flight of white homeowners, the municipal tax base was shrinking, making local government's ability to pay for social programs and maintain the large tenement housing projects difficult. These conditions felt like an impetus to rebellion. To many elites, this wave of unrest resembled a potentially dangerous black revolution among the proletariat, a fear stoked even more with Cold War paranoia. Therefore, in response, President Lyndon Johnson commissioned a study to look at the root causes of this black revolt, the Kerner Commission, the National Advisory on Civil Disorders. The report noted that one way to quell the violence was to make strategic concessions to black power in the cultural field. In practical terms, this meant placing more black faces on television and the news media, black affairs centered around programming, and funding the arts in the inner cities. Black power divorced from political action is much less threatening as simply rhetorical demand. The timing for this was rather serendipitous for the advent of what Beverly Hills NAACP chapter president Junius Griffith called Blaxploitation. Capital flight from urban cities coupled with deindustrialization left many movie theaters in disarray. If they hadn't closed their doors, they were on their way out. But Sweetback's badass song created such a buzz that people went back multiple times to see it, reminiscent of what people would see with Star Wars just 6 years later. On a budget of $150,000, now this included a $50,000 loan from one Bill Cosby. Sweetback grossed an eye-opening $15.2 million at the box office, proving that black-centered independent films were certified moneymakers for a Hollywood looking to return to the physical black. See that? These new black character-centered films would be antithetical to the Hollywood orthodoxy in their portrayal of black main characters. These new black heroes would be crafted not from archetypal characters, but from inner city lore. The days of Sidney Poitier, valiant, asexual Negroes with perfect vernacular were over. These movies were ghetto tales of drug dealing, pimps, and vengeful prostitutes, with a mix of white and black directors and an endless stable of extremely talented out-of-work black actors. For a short time, profits from these movies were astronomical. This was the era of the black and powerful Super nigga. The plot was simple. Valorize the most criminal elements of the Black urban community. Get a good soundtrack with a theme song that was as aspirational as it was funky. And it was money in the bank. Major Hollywood studios even rewrote white characters to fit within this paradigm. But in capitalist production, where if a little is good, a lot is better, how much would be too much? To talk about this with me, I have my homie, my dog, my co-host, the man of the Mau Mau Hour. I did a video essay on this, the last video essay that I have published called Same As It Ever Was, where I quote this man. Please welcome his return, the Pascal Robert.
Peace and greetings to the chat. Peace and greetings to the audience. Peace and greetings, Jason. Myles, how are you?
I'm good. I think this show is right in your wheelhouse, as you wrote a paper for Black Agenda Report 4 years ago, which I quote. I end the video essay with a really cool quote from.
Yes. Some disturbing realities come out of this era for me, quite honestly.
Oh, of course, and also she's a jive talking, sassy inner city queen. Please welcome M Tucson.
What up, homies?
What up, homies?
You're supposed to say it, cat daddy.
Hero ain't nothing but a sandwich.
What is up with them fine vines you be wearing? Negroes and negresses, can you dig it?
Ridiculous.
We've already lost 47 viewers from that one.
37.
I thought these niggas was serious. I'm turning on BLM. Back to your regularly scheduled seriousness.
Shout out to Spencer in the chat.
Spence, oh, we got everybody button up your shirt. Spencer's in the chat. Spencer, we did a show in DC recently, and Spencer replaced a Black woman. So there you go, equality. Diversity, equity, and inclusion as always. Spencer was great. Pascal, before we even start, what did you think of DC?
DC was a great time. I enjoyed it very much. The camaraderie was amazing.
You sure you feel that way? Because it sounds like you're reading it like there's a person behind you with a gun.
No, it's true. I'm just focusing on the subject matter for the night, man. You hear questions about DC.
Say you had fun, see? Be real cool and nothing's going to happen.
I had a good time in DC. It was very, very good.
I thought Pascal had about a good 20 minutes in him at the after party, and he stayed the whole time. So
yes,
had a good time. I have a great picture of the. We have a super chat from Dizzle McFizzle. Listen up, sucker. Better mind your P's and Q's, you dig? Thank you very much, Dizzle. And we are down to accept all super chats with very offensive exploitative language in it, because you can't do this show. I mean, the screen, the thumbnail for this show is Pam Grier holding a shotgun. So the tongue was firmly planted in my cheek.
Always going for the moderate pitch, right, Jason?
Nuri Yank, who we got to meet in DC. Apologies to Pascal. I doubt he understood a word my wife and I said to him on the way out. He was the fellow from Ireland. Did you remember the fellow from Ireland, Pascal?
Oh yes, he was very nice.
Yeah. Someone said Nuri Yank low-key bragging about having a wife.
In this chat, that's a flex.
Y'all's too much, man. This
Yo,
can't be the. This cannot be the incel chat today.
That's some serious like slander.
Y'all too much. But on a serious note, Pascal, can you tell us a little bit more about the urban uprisings in the mid to late 60s and the Kerner Report?
Between 1964 and 1968 or 9, there were 370 urban rebellions in about 221 cities, if I'm not mistaken. This pushed Lyndon Johnson in a situation, and they had started earlier. They had started as early as '63. This is pushed Lyndon Johnson to realize that he had to find a way to explain what was going on, what was happening, why were his civil rights legislations and bills not calming the racial and political temper that was going on all over Black America, and who was causing these rebellions. He felt that it could have been a collaborated attempt by the Soviet Union to cause uprisings. The Kerner Commission report even admits that. I have the report here somewhere, and it's an extensive report of basically the whole history of Black America in the United States, and how the United States has failed to address the political economy, and how the racial militancy of Black folk has waned up and down throughout various periods. But there is a section called the Negroes and the Media in the Kerner Commission report that specifically says having Black people flood popular culture like TV and film and news anchors and sports reporting and things of that nature will make their presence more acceptable to both Black and whites, and it will be more normalized to ask to see them, and it will have a tranquiling effect, and it won't seem as alien to American society. This actual uh, mechanism has been the policy of the American ruling class since the early 70s, late 60s. This is why you will always see your a Black figure in your news media. You have Black television shows that cater to quote unquote urban issues. There's quote unquote what's called Black programming. It's a Black program, as if Black people have a certain stigmatic kind of notion of what they are or what they should be. Or maybe it's that they've been tailored to accept Black programming in a certain way, and now they've been resigned to see exactly what it is. So, one of the biggest problems that comes out of the Kerner Commission for me and these urban uprisings is that it creates uh, a kind of culture industry that basically tailors what the acceptable scope of Black behavior and thought is by projecting programming into the Black community and creating a control mechanism for the ideological superstructure of Black people, which tending it to shape it into the direction that popular culture mechanism want it to be, as opposed to have it organically develop on itself.
Tucson, you have anything you want to add to that?
I think it's interesting the way it worked. It definitely did seem to pacify people, and it still does. It's evilly brilliant, wickedly brilliant.
Wickedly brilliant. That's yeah, I think so. Soul Train. Pascal, did you watch Soul Train?
I did watch Soul Train. I liked Soul Train a lot, bro. I mean, I'm not telling people that they should not like these shows or that they're all demonic and oh my God, they're controlling us in our minds. My point is that understand that the people who plan society don't put these things on programming without a reason. And having a show which highlighted the best dancing of black folk to the best soundtracks at the time, right after you had the Gary Convention of '72 and all of these urban rebellions and kids coming back from Vietnam, and all of a sudden no one's rallying in the streets for better life and policy. I don't think that's an accident.
Do you believe the Kerner Commission report, coupled with the incarceration and in some cases execution of black leaders, was able to defeat Black Power politically? Was Black Power, in your view, always simply black capitalism with some social safety, social welfare demands? Sorry.
I think one of the problems Black Power had is that it was being defined by too many different people, too many different for too many different things. You had black socialist radicals who were trying to define it as a socialist politics from below. You had the black political class who were trying to argue that it's time for them to get a piece of the pie. So one of the problems with black politics or black power is that it doesn't clearly define what it actually expresses, what it wants to be, and the ultimate death knell of what will take out the Black Power movement for me is less the current commission or the political crackdown. It's that the black elites at the Gary Convention very quickly find a way to take control of black political direction because the black radicals were not prepared to deal with the class politics of patronage, urban politics of black communities.
Toussaint?
Gotta talk money, right?
Yeah.
You ain't talking about nothing if you ain't talking about money.
Now, when we think about this era, we're talking about the late '60s. You know, we're going into the '70s now. I think Sweetback comes out in '68, '69. Trying to remember because Star Wars is '77, 6 years. So '71, I think Sweetback's Badass Song comes out, and that is a triumph in a lot of people's minds for black people everywhere, because it's a movie where a black man is a quote unquote hero. And, you know, these movies then follow kind of a simple format, an over sexualized, sometimes drug dealing, sometimes pimping, sometimes all of the above black guy has to defeat Whitey. He's got to get Whitey.
Wasn't it also celebrated because the director's black?
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but that one.
Yes. And he actually made art films before that didn't do very well.
Not surprised.
But, you know, I think Adolf was at the premiere or one of the screenings of Sweetback and did not like it at all.
Whoa.
At all. Like, what is your opinion of Sweetback, Pascal?
I haven't seen it in a long time. Like 20 years.
I mean, when any of these movies, The Mac, Superfly, Coffee, Black Caesar, Blackula, Black Frankenstein. What's another one?
There was a period of time in the 90s I used to collect all of these movies.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of these almost cultural icons, but they're still revered in a way that they were a little more controversial, especially by the time we get to Superfly. Maybe not Shaft as much, because Shaft is like a cop or a detective, I forget. But he's on the right side of the law. That was originally written for a white person with a white director, and that director got fired, replaced with Gordon Parks, I believe, and then Richard Roundtree is cast as Shaft because of the money that was made off Sweetback's Badass Song. Hollywood is going through a time right now where the major studios are literally selling off their lots. That's why you have all these hippies living in old Hollywood lots like the Manson family. they couldn't afford them anymore because these movies, these big blockbuster movies that they invested lots of money in, were failing. Television is becoming more popular, and in the 40s, in the late 40s, major studios lost a antitrust lawsuit where studios used to own movie theaters so they could control what people saw.
Right.
So there's white flight in these urban areas where there's movie theaters. You can play these black movies, and there's a burgeoning black middle class in the beginning of the 70s that have money and will want to spend it. And here you go. We have movies for you that don't cost a lot of money to make. Because this is also before special effects. This is before the militarization of police, so we don't need to see big gunfights. We don't need to see westerns anymore, so we don't need sets like that. We can use the urban environment around us and do some guerrilla shooting, because you do have so many empty buildings in these urban enclaves, especially in New York and LA. These movies are met with some pushback from the NAACP. The NAACP does not like the portrayal of black people in these films. They feel it's overly stereotypical and just bad for the Negro brand. And the NAACP, we should probably all agree, is still preaching racial uplift. Would you agree with that, Pascal?
Respectability politics.
Yes, there's still racial uplift and respectability politics with black people getting quote unquote there, wherever there is. And these movies to them are a massive step back. And there are some black actors that don't want to participate in them. And these black actors can keep careers after the fall of this era. We have to remember that a lot of actors didn't get roles after the fact. Do you think there was a blackballing by the NAACP, guys?
I think that the politics of the political economy of Hollywood just made these actors superfluous, and that Hollywood realized it could make better movies and better money with new types of films. You had Star Wars, you had, new types of films that can appeal to people's taste buds. And also by the tail end of the 70s, that kind of black nationalism cultural portrayal becomes less popular in black community.
Toussaint?
I have a question for Pascal.
Bless you.
Since you were at the filming of the first Soul Train episode. Did young Pascal have any sense of black people being pacified by this?
Did I have any sense of what?
Hold on. Get all your sneezes out. Get all your sneezes out. Get them all out. Jesus. Get all the sneezes out. You ready? He said he sneezed.
He did.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. You want to ask that question again?
Did young Pascal have any sense of black people being pacified by all of this?
No, this is stuff that comes about when I do adult reading. I mean, you don't come into this just as a young person, watching, Fat Albert on a cartoon show, just like, yeah, you see, this is the way that they help to pacify us. No, this is something you develop in your political reading when you get out of the bubble of buying the traditional narratives of black popular culture, and you start reading alternative stuff.
Did you feel differently towards that media after you did your reading?
I started to feel somewhat different towards it. Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
In what way?
I started to really I looked at it as a tool. I would say that I would look at it as the same way as someone who was a fan of the chiclet circuit depictions
Mhm.
of the 40s and 30s and how they feel when they start to see like Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier in like the 50s and 60s. They're like, oh, this is a whole different. So something sparks in their mind. I mean, even though there are problems with Belafonte and, you know, Sydney, still,
Mhm.
this is going to spark in their mind. They're like, oh, we got to evolve away from, you know, that other stuff that we had before.
What's interesting to me is that before this kind of outburst of independent cinema, Hollywood is going, I wouldn't say, there's like the Maverick director moment that's happening around the same time, right? And some of these directors are kind of riding that wave as well. And as Hollywood needs these cheap movies to make money, some of them don't make money. Actually, the majority of them don't make money. But what happens is the few that did make money, there was enough money to make what later becomes the blockbuster. Like Jaws, I think might be the first big blockbuster. Then you get Star Wars and Close Encounters, and all these just super large films, and you just don't need this cinema anymore. But independent film companies over the last, I don't know how many years it's been, maybe 15 or so years, 20 years, there's a whole niche market again of this super stereotypical black cinema. We joke about it with the Tubi movies, but even before Tubi even existed, these movies existed. You can say Tyler Perry is the gateway, maybe, but I don't think much has changed in stereotypical black cinema. What say you guys?
I think you're absolutely correct. I think that there's always some attempt to paint this kind of this base image of black life because people believe that that's the only thing that's gonna sell.
Spencer Leonard said, was Spike Lee trying to save this phenomenon? No, I actually think quite the opposite. I believe Spike Lee hated with a passion these movies, and everything about him and every movie he made. In the video essay, I actually have an interview of Spike Lee on, I think, Dick Cavett, where he's not bragging, but he's bringing up the fact that he comes from a family of some means and a family full of artists. His father did the scores, who was an accomplished jazz musician. His brother did his still photography, and his sister, who's an actress, acted in the movies as well. And he's part of a movement of a new Brooklyn Renaissance. I don't want to say Harlem because don't they come out of the Brooklyn area, Pascal?
The Brooklyn Bohemes, I know them.
And these are bohemian middle class dudes that don't feel that the 70s really represented their life. And a lot of the 70s definitely begs a certain question about authenticity, because a lot of these scripts aren't written by black people. Again, they're not directed by black people. It's not the way anybody talks.
Sucker.
And it gets worse by the time it gets to television. We're just talking about the movies.
I mean, yeah, Spike Lee is trying to produce upper middle class friendly black nationalism.
He did a great job of it. Bingo. He wins. I think me and Teray had a clip somewhere that Spike Lee killed the super nigga. Like that was his whole job. Him and Bill Cosby, I think, really wanted to kill this stereotype, and they do a great job. The 70s television production is an offshoot of a lot of these films that became popular. Like Cooley High is just what's happening. Will we all agree on that? No.
Yeah, that's true.
Toussaint disagrees.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
That's My Mama is kind of a derivative of some of these shows as well. And a lot of them are written by Norman Lear and other white writers. I don't think there's any black writers on a lot of these shows. And all these shows are like maids. Look at the single maid making it. Or Good Times, where for some reason Good Times is this one income family where no one has a job. Like, when did James ever have a consistent job on Good Times?
Temporary layoff. Good Times.
Pascal, do you know that we found out what the line is in Good Times, by the way? Side note. You know how there's that one line where it sounds like hanging in the child line. You know that line?
Yeah, that's not what it is.
No.
Hanging in a jawlin? What it is?
Yep, hanging and a jiving.
Oh. So
That's what the community needs. It's so much better than the chow line. Whatever that
Do
is.
you think? I felt like the chow line is a better line than hanging and a jiving. No? Hanging and a jiving sounds like everybody in that show is Jimmy Walker's painting. That painting in the show.
Yes. Paintings are awesome.
Everything is hanging in a jive. But let's see, there's Good Times. There's That's My Mama. What's another black 70s? The Jeffersons, which is like late 70s, early 80s, continues into the mid 80s, which is a spinoff of Archie Bunker.
All in the family.
Look, it's called Archie Bunker, goddamn it.
Turn on Archie Bunker.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck what Meathead has to say. What's another black show, Pascal, in the 70s? TV show.
Sanford and Son.
Oh, Sanford and Son. Running the Junkyard.
That was new. Never seen that before.
At least he had a business.
He had a business.
I don't remember Sanford and Son ever having money troubles, though. They never really had shows about money troubles, did they?
They had no shortage of junk.
What's another black show, Pascal?
Jeffersons. We said Jeffersons, right?
Said Jeffersons. We're talking about the original black shows. People are mentioning 80s shows.
Yeah, the Cosby Show.
That's 80s. The Cosby Show is a game changer because the Cosby Show destroys this inner city black stereotype that you need to have. It's gone.
While taking place in an urban center.
Where they don't have any urban problems.
Theo never got his bike stolen.
Did he ever even have a bike? How did they get from point A to B?
Living in Shangri-La.
You guys grew up in New York. You guys grew up in New York at that time.
Yep.
How what did you think of the Cosby Show when you guys would watch it as New Yorkers?
I thought the fact that you had a show about New York City in the 80s that didn't talk about all of the urban crime that we were dealing with was egregious.
Tucson, did you feel the same way?
Nothing about the show was New York except for that shot of the brownstone on the outside, which did not look like what was on the inside.
You know what's really funny is the Cosby Show ends during the LA riots.
We didn't need it anymore.
That was the last episode. LA is burning. That show's happening in LA, and they're just like, all right. Exit stage left. Yeah, Connor asked, what neighborhood did they live in New York? Do you guys remember?
Some bougie black neighborhood in Brooklyn.
But would you say there's positives to the Cosby Show? Because now we're talking about a true black control over a TV show, right? Bill Cosby, I think, isn't his doctorate in like early childhood development or something like that?
That's a real doctorate, like a celebrity doctorate.
I believe he's a real doctorate, isn't he?
Oh, I mean, I was told he has a doctorate, but I don't know. Torre has the answers to that.
We'll find out tomorrow.
Thomas Hooker said Julia. We forgot about Julia, Pascal.
Yeah,
I
Julia
don't
was.
watch Julia.
How can we forget about Julia? A widowed nurse. You have to be a single woman. You have to have some sort of like.
Yeah, you can't have a
strife.
husband like a normal wife.
Yeah.
The Flip Wilson show.
Flip Wilson show. Richard Pryor had a show as well for a hot minute. There was a lot of interesting black shows in the 70s, and that some of them don't last that long. But
Geraldine.
but never wear the dress.
Never wear the dress.
We're always trying to get black men to wear a dress. Really? Because I think a lot of actors have worn a dress. Patrick Swayze wore a dress. Is that what killed him?
He sure did. He looked
Was
great.
it the dress? Guy Pearce wore a dress. Let's go down the list of non-black people that wore a dress. Or is it just racism? Is that what it is?
The dress is racism.
The dress is racism. Okay. Got it. Pascal, is the dress racism?
I don't know, man. I think the dress is about a certain paranoia about people's masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So you don't believe that there's a secret cabal of white people that wait for a black person to get somewhat famous, then they make them make a Illuminati-like deal with the devil, and to like sign that deal, you have to wear a dress in a movie. You don't believe that? Well, looks like my life's been a lie.
Now you gotta get rid of those dresses.
The 80s is a time where a lot of black people are missing from the screen. There's black people on the screen, but they're playing supporting roles, right? No longer are black people the lead character. There's a few moments, and there's one person that, in my opinion, breaks through, just kicks in the door.
Robert Guillaume.
I will walk to New York and shake the hell out of you for saying no.
That was a good show.
That was a good joke. So mad at you. I was gonna say Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy is a whirlwind. I think he's only on SNL for one season and just stole the show.
He comes in strong.
Oh my God. Eddie Murphy in the 80s does not usher in, though, a black renaissance of cinema. I think he's part of an interesting time, because around the time that Eddie Murphy is getting on the screen, I think it's one supporting role for him, maybe two. I think he had a bit of a cameo in a very horrible movie called Best Defense with Dudley Moore. But he does, was it 48 Hours, Trading Places, and then he becomes a megastar with Beverly Hills Cop, which one of my favorite movies of all time.
Did you see there's a new one?
Yes. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want him to be a 22-year-old wise ass.
Right.
At 55.
55? He's like 60.
Is he 60?
Yeah, man.
Tucson. Is Eddie Murphy 60?
He's bringing back the old techniques. These young kids in the academy, they didn't learn anything.
Somebody said, did you fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
He is 63 years old.
He's 63? Don't play. You got to be captain if you're coming back in the movie. You can't just be a wisecracking dude with the Detroit Lions starter coat.
He just had a birthday. Well, he works well on the margins.
Eddie Murphy.
Works very well.
Eddie Murphy he's like, oh wow, this guy's really funny, right? And then he does Beverly Hills Cop, and you're like, you can carry a fucking film well. Tell me that I haven't seen an actor like carry a film like that since a comedic actor. Damon Wayans tried in Last Boy Scout, couldn't do it. I like The Last Boy Scout, but when Eddie Murphy goes into the bar with all the white people, there's a new sheriff in town in 48 hours. You know that something's about to happen.
The last thing I saw Eddie Murphy in that I thought was actually quite funny was the movie about interracial marriage with Lauren London that was on Netflix.
Like Eddie Murphy coming on the scene, but he doesn't usher in this this renaissance of other Eddie Murphys. Why do you think that is? I said there's not more Eddie Murphys, right? After he comes in, kicks in the door with these movies, 48 Hours, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop. It's almost like we'll give you one. That was a storyline for the longest time, right? In the Black community, Pascal, that they just give us one. There's only one Eddie Murphy. Why do you think there wasn't more?
Okay, well, yeah, that's a. I remember asking that question as well too. Like, well, Eddie's is in the spotlight, but there's no other Black comedians who were really able to shine. I remember someone making that argument about Will Smith at one point. That like Will Smith is really at the pinnacle, but I said, well, what about Denzel Washington?
Yeah, but no, really, what do you think about that with Eddie Murphy? It's not like he was the only Black comedian. Why does he get to shine and we don't see so many more Eddies? What do you think, Toussaint?
Maybe it's management.
Toussaint?
It's because the white man said so.
Damn it.
The white man said there will only be one.
No, seriously, why do you think that is?
That's a real rumor.
He is the opposite of Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor is a hazard.
Right.
He's drug addicted to the max. You never know what you're going to get with him. He fucking lights himself on fire at one point in time. He is an insurance casualty after he signed a big ass movie deal. And a lot of those movies just went, I've never seen one person quote critical condition.
Well, maybe what you have with Eddie Murphy is that his way of playing the game is to not open it up for other players. You know who's not like Eddie Murphy is in Living Color. The dude, what's his name?
David. Which one?
Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Keenan Wayans and Eddie Murphy are friends. Keenan Wayans is a co-writer.
Keenan Wayans has a different attitude towards the business industry. That he's going to hook as many people, particularly his own family.
Now, I will add this to Eddie Murphy. I don't think Eddie Murphy is like that. Apparently, Eddie Murphy meets Spike Lee, and Spike Lee explains to Eddie Murphy that you can have an all-Black crew. So Eddie Murphy makes Coming to America, a movie where I didn't realize this until I watched an interview like 30 years later, that I think there's like 2 white people in that movie. It took me at least 15 years before I realized Eddie Murphy was the old Jewish guy in the barbershop. He beat Joe Lewis's ass. Coming to America is a Black ass film, and he puts on the screen Black people. Sometimes we don't see some of these people again, these actors, and some of these actors and actresses we haven't seen in years. He does it again with Harlem Nights, and he does it with Boomerang. And also what he does in these movies is he takes a young comedian, puts him on screen, and that person definitely gets elevated. Arsenio Hall gets elevated. Chris Rock in Boomerang
Mm-hmm.
First, the Fat Boys break up. Now this. Dave Chappelle, Nutty Professor, Martin Lawrence in Boomerang, David Allen Greer in Boomerang, Halle Berry in Boomerang. I didn't know what a pixie cut was until some very woke woman, I think Toussaint, told me, the Halle Berry cut.
Yeah. That's not exactly a pixie cut.
Still,
yes.
it's close enough.
And now you have one.
But Eddie Murphy put people on. Eddie Murphy puts on Robert Townsend. I think one of the best black directors that we never talk about. The only black director that I can think of that actually makes a socialist movie, Robert Townsend.
Robert Townsend is hilarious.
Hilarious and insightful.
Yeah.
Hollywood Shuffle is way better than American Fiction. But someone said the pixie cut is Pascal's kryptonite. What? What is it, though, about black movies? Because this is the problem in the 70s, and it becomes a problem at some point in the 90s. And I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it's a thing now. And I felt this way. I was on a show with Brianna Joy Gray, and she was like bitching about black people in cinema, and there's not enough representation of black people like her. And I was like, what do you mean? Dark-skinned women? There's tons of them. They're winning Oscars left and right. What are you talking about?
All my life I had to fight.
All my life I had to fight in Harvard, and then in Harvard again, and then on the Hill. Plymouth Rock landed right on my black ass. Guess I'm never going back on Bad Faith. I'm terrified to check my inbox now on Twitter. But seriously, these movies feel like they're only. Do they ever feel like to you like they're only for black people?
I feel like that's the way they're projected sometimes.
Thomas Hookers. Why?
Why?
Why? I said BJG doing the Jesse Jackson speech. But seriously, Toussaint, you've seen your fair share of black movies. Do they ever feel like they're only for you?
I know they're not. So no matter how I feel, I know they're not. I remember being really surprised when Whitney Houston died, how many white people were like really affected by it.
Were they affected by her dying, or were they affected by the one song they know? Maybe the three. You might know 3 songs.
It was the Star Spangled, the national anthem that really did it.
Can you admit that no one has sang? There's like 2 people that have done the national anthem that matter. Whitney Houston, Jimi Hendrix. That's it.
Marvin Gaye did a really good one too.
America, America, America. Pascal, do you see this comment on the screen?
I see it.
Unreal.
Oh my God. I had a real question. Like, there's movies that I just haven't watched because I don't like. I can't get into Woody Allen stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I don't know if that's for me.
Understandable.
Do you watch Woody Allen movies, Tucson?
No. And I guess it's not for me.
Pascal, are you watch Woody Allen movies?
No.
There you go. Black people have spoken. Woody Allen is not for us.
No, I know some black folk who like Woody Allen.
Annie
How
Hall.
black are they?
And you know,
I've tried so many times. I'm like, ooh, I don't know. How about I'll watch this if you watch Soul Plane.
Ooh, Soul Plane. Why does that have to be the representative of black people? Oh my God.
Look at Pascal's face when he heard Soul Plane.
Soul Plane.
I tried to watch Soul Plane and I was so offended. Like 15 minutes in, I left a friend's house. They were like watching on the VHS or something. Maybe I think it was a VHS. And I was like, this is horrible.
Put your drink down and left.
I was like, I bid you good day, sir. Like, have you ever been the black man in the room that had to walk out because Soul Plane was on?
Oh man.
You just fit every stereotype they have of you at that point. Didn't know Martin Luther was going to be so mad over here.
Why? Jason's like, I'm not like that. I drink Mountain Dew. I listen to rock music.
You put Soul Plane on in front of me and I just turned into Malcolm X. Again and again. The black man can't get...
that's what it takes? Really?
Soul Plane.
Yeah, you just put Soul Plane on. And all of a sudden this hat turns into a kufi. Put the pork down, brother. I shall have no swine this time. I can't watch Soul Plane. Can't do it. I can't sit through it. I can't do it. And I watch some horrible movies. I watch the Charles Bronson movies, which are over the top offensive. The Soul Plane is just like, just can't do it.
Just can't.
What black movie can't you watch, Tucson?
Snakes on a Plane.
Is that a black movie or just a black guy in it?
I don't know. I know there's a black guy in it for sure.
I can't watch that movie with Halle Berry and that other chick with ass really, really coonish as hell.
Baps.
Baps.
Oof. You went deep into the fucking...
I'm sure she learns a lesson at the end.
Baps comes out after losing Isaiah, right?
Yep.
Oof. Someone says Blade is a black movie. Blade is a good fucking movie. And it is a black movie. How do we feel about Pootie Tang? I haven't watched that in a long time. I remember laughing at it. The one Halle Berry won the Oscar for, Monsters Ball. Make me feel good. Make me feel good.
Are you one of those people who think they were actually doing it in the movie?
Yeah, I don't think you can do it in the movie. You have to put a little thing on your penis.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed that scene. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, boy.
That was the one time in my life I wanted to be Billy Bob Thornton.
One time?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, that's enough.
No. No, thank you, Angelina Jolie.
Friday, someone was asking about Friday. I felt like Friday was the perfect antidote to all the hood movies.
Friday was a palate cleanser.
What John Singleton tries to do with Boys in the Hood, in my opinion, is give you a portrayal of where he grew up in Los Angeles in a predominant black community that has a mix of poverty and working class, has a mix of renters and homeowners. And I can't speak for where you guys grew up in New York, but that's how a lot of areas, even where I grew up in the Bay Area, looked like. But I do think the movie falls a little short because of the politics of the era in which it's made. I think the politics of that era are pretty conservative, and I think we are returning to that era politically, which is why I wanted to do this show. Because when we think about those movies, and Pascal even says it as we start the show, that Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society feel like commercials for the 1994 crime bill. We're still stuck in a moment where we're stuck in like Moynihan ideology of fixing these urban problems.
Mhm.
And the biggest urban problem that we can't fix because it's all pathological is the fatherless, wayward youth. And Boys in the Hood is supposed to show you, here's a kid, even though his parents are separate, he still comes at a point in his life where he needs his father. And that's a common story in a lot of, that's Karate Kid, right? Ralph Macchio's at a point in his life where his mom can no longer hug him through it. And he needs tough love, but also a hug here and there. He needs to be pushed in a way that only a dad can push him, right? That's Karate Kid. And to some degree, that's Boys in the Hood, right? Furious Styles, Larry Fishburne's character, is laying down the foundations for what a good man is. He lets the girls go first at the barbecue. He's got a job. He has a car, right? He didn't go to jail. He didn't have a kid. He's responsible because he's got a dad. By the time you get to Menace to Society, it takes that and goes, you guys didn't go far enough with what the hood is really like. We want to show you what the hood is really like. Doesn't matter if you have a father figure, which is a line in that movie, which I thought was always kind of a great line that to me showed why the movie was bullshit in the first place. The main character, Kane, short for cocaine, his parents were drug dealers and hookers, and they get killed, and he's raised by his grandparents. And he's having a conversation with the Rock character and the Rock character's son, who's like a 5%er. That was also really popular among us young people in the early 90s. And the character of the 5%er, when Kane goes, man, I didn't have a dad like you that loved you. He stops him and goes, but you had grandparents in your life that took care of you and said the same things my father does. So you can't say you didn't have positive role models in your life. You just do this shit because you want to do it. And of course, the tragic ending of that, if you watch the movie again, to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think it's hard for people to wrap their heads around that the 94 crime bill was something that a lot of people, even in the inner city, were asking for.
Right.
Because we didn't say words like mass incarceration because some people didn't know what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
The answer to bad things was we need tougher laws. And the bad thing was gun violence due to an influx of cheap cocaine in urban areas being cooked down into crack, and there was just too much money to be made. Everybody could start a capitalist enterprise, make some real deal fucking money overnight. In places like Los Angeles, where you already have an infrastructure with gangs, you have a built-in distribution network. Steve says Pascal was a 5%er back in the day. Look at Pascal. Doesn't he want to answer that question?
Never a 5%er.
Toussaint was a 5%er.
What's the mathematics, Pascal?
Everybody in New York. Wait, Pascal left New York right before the 5% shit hit hard, huh?
No, the 5% stuff was big in the 80s up until the 90s. First of all, hip hop is infused with that 5% shit in New York, man.
Absolutely.
Hip hop loved the 5%. Hip hop was super conservative back. Hip hop was ones calling for tougher sentences on drug dealers.
Yeah.
I don't know of any rappers in the 90s that were like, you know what we need? Diversion programs. Sorry, guys. Like my favorite thing that's not my favorite thing is when there's someone that goes, in the 90s, rap was conscious and popular. And then the man knew it was too strong and had to be defeated with gangster rap.
That cultural nationalism bullshit will take and fool you every time.
Bullshit. It's like, that's not true at all. Last I checked, Hammer was the biggest selling fucking artist. It sure as fuck wasn't Brand Nubian. Sorry.
All for one.
And one for all. They love saying that bullshit. And you know what those rappers were saying? Lock them niggas up. Crack is whack. Self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction.
That's right.
Am I lying?
Yep.
It's almost like hard for people to wrap their heads around. Somebody says baby boy. Oh, that's a rough movie.
What?
Tucson, did you like Baby Boy?
I didn't watch it.
Damn. Do you have a moratorium on Negro movies?
I have a moratorium on all movies.
Pascal, did you like Baby Boy?
I didn't like it at all.
Why?
Because it turned black manhood into a pathology.
Yes.
Yes, and
little Jody. I mean, all those John Singleton movies were problematic. Hustle and Flow is the worst. And he doesn't, I think he's an executive producer on that film, but still. Watching Hustle and Flow, you're just like, oof. It's the equivalent of that 50 Cent album with where the snare was the gun. And you're like, I think we hit peak niggerdom. Dizzle asked the greatest question ever. What is a 5%er, Pascal?
It's a sect of Islam that comes out of the Nation of Islam that starts in New York. I forgot the name of the man who founded it, but
Clarence 13X.
Clarence 13X, yes. They believe that their teaching is that they are the 5% enlightened, poor righteous teachers. Above the 85%, and then below them there's the dumb, deaf, and blind.
Steve says
85% are the dumb, deaf, and blind, and the 10% are the ones that know better.
Sean Furtado says, what about South Central? Sean, I have to get close to the camera here. I want to tell you a little story about South Central. South Central stars Richmond, California's own Glenn Plummer. Shout out to Glenn Plummer, who's a great actor. But South Central has one of the most offensive haircuts that any young black man has ever received. The haircut that they give OG Bobby Johnson's son with that ducktail in the back that looks like a vagina in his head is racism. There you go. Tucson, what say you about South Central?
Oh my God. I don't know what can top that.
Pascal, have you seen South Central, more the movie South Central?
I saw it a long time ago, man.
You don't remember that little boy's hair?
No, man. I wasn't a fan of these films, these movies, man.
Look, I found a picture right here, and I want to show you because this is it's offensive. It's offensive. Do you see that? Look at this. Look at this. Can you see that on the screen?
Bring it closer. Oh, you got a fade with like
It's not a fade.
it's a bad fade.
That is not a fade. That is an assault. Toussaint, can you see this
I can see
quote
it.
unquote haircut? What is that? What is that?
It's an attempt at a fade.
It looks like a bad fade.
It's not a bad fade. There's no fade.
There
What
is
is
no
that?
fade. That
There's
is a
no
line of
fade.
demarcation. There is no fade. You're right. You're right. Technically, it's not a fade.
Look at his hairline. He got one of these African kid hairlines. It's not even right.
What does that mean?
He's got a developing nation's hairline. His naps look like ants on a bone. Look at this. What self-respecting hood villain would have a haircut like this?
Oh my god. Unreal.
No, someone's asking about it. Quinn says that's a bowl cut. Toussaint and Pascal, y'all both been black for a minute. Have you ever seen a black person with a bowl cut?
It's a Black Edgar.
Steve said I sound like Tariq Nasheed. Worst haircut in cinema history. Great. I actually like South Central as a film. It's actually not. I mean, it's as problematic as the rest of them, right? But I do like the redemption arc. He's about to get hit with a space ball. Someone said, Quinn, that's a pixie cut. Oh, shit. Ain't your daddy OG Bobby Johnson? Oh, Jason's critiquing hairline. It's fucked up, man. South Central. Again, Glenn Plummer, excellent actor. Glenn Plummer is also Rocket in Colors. Colors to me lays the groundwork of these horrible films that help with the 94 crime bill by portraying the LA Police Department as a undermanned and underarmed police force that can't handle these gangs that have weaponry that they are just more advanced than them. It starts with Colors.
Have that idea.
Colors comes out after the LAPD literally had a battering ram tank destroy an entire home.
Yep. I remember that.
Literally, it emptied out the kids' food, destroyed a staircase off the wall. So my whole theory is that Blaxploitation never ended.
Right.
These stereotypical images that we get of black people in the 70s that we think are so horrible. People like Spike Lee come out in the 80s and they want to have a different take, right? They want to show that there is a black middle class and look at it thrive. You get She's Gotta Have It, followed by School Days, and then Do the Right Thing. After Do the Right Thing, there's a lot of criticism coming at Spike Lee for his portrayal of New York's inner city. It's not gritty enough. It's not real enough. And then when he does Jungle Fever, he writes in the character of the brother Gator, who is a drug addict. It is literally a response to critics that he doesn't understand, this urban blight of the common Black American. I have to agree with that critique because I've never had somebody tap dance for drugs, and I literally bought the drug addicts.
Tap dance for drugs.
Yeah. Do it again. Do the dance, Gator.
Can I clarify something?
The TV, mama. Now, Pascal, I know you feel, before we got Know You Feel, a certain way about that film as well, because you like a lot of those movies. How do you feel about Spike Lee's portrayal of inner city black people in post Do the Right Thing?
I think it reflects his class tendency that he kind of depicts the urban underclass as entertainers, dangerous entertainers of the black working class, upper middle class.
Steve says every family's got a crackhead. Sure, Steve, but how many have danced for crack for you? Steve, need to know.
Oh my gosh. Read it out loud.
I think this is the new TIR Juneteenth where Jason rates haircuts. He will be shown an image and then signal his disapproval by popping a balloon.
Perfect.
I would love it. Thomas Hooker says Clockers is more nuanced. Did you like Clockers, Pascal?
Clockers. That was the one based in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see that whole movie, man.
Is that the one with Mos Def in it? Is he in that?
I think so.
No.
Somebody.
I don't know.
What about the one Crooklyn?
Crooklyn.
Crooklyn was dope.
Pascal, did you like Crooklyn?
I wasn't a fan.
Really?
I'm about to jump down his throat.
Yeah.
Cut his mic off.
Maybe he's sneezing again. What didn't you like about Crooklyn? Delroy Lindo?
I'm just at a point in my life, man. When I look at these films, is what do we get out of this stuff, man?
Entertainment.
You know, like what is the condition of Black America after all of these niggas kicking off on these films? But they're talking about we represent. It's a hustle.
Again, I don't think anything's changed because Wakanda is highly offensive. These niggas got spears. They're fighting in the goddamn savannas of Africa. MT probably met a crackhead tap dancer at her art school. Yikes. Were there tap dancing crackheads at your school?
I'm sure there were.
What do you guys think of Juice? Juice.
I love Juice.
Did you really? What did you like about it? I want to know. What did you like about it? You were one of the kids in Juice? Y'all brothers.
I think I had an older sister and she was the right age for Juice.
I mean, we were fired up for Juice. It was like Tupac's gonna be in a movie. Ooh. And he got cross colors on. Ooh.
And he had a DJ battle and they jumped over buildings.
They did. Do you know what Tupac said about that movie? That was like, ooh. So you know his character's name is Bishop?
Right.
Yeah.
That's why he had the haircut with the line that went like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was leveled because he wanted to look like a bishop chess piece. Ooh.
That's deep.
It's deep. It's deep. You know what movie sucked? Straight Outta Brooklyn. Pascal, did you like Straight Outta Brooklyn?
No.
Jesus Christ. His fucking face. It's not just the no, it's his face. No. Did you like The Help, Pascal?
I saw like half an hour of that and I thought it was crap.
Did you like Hidden Figures?
No, I wasn't gonna see that bullshit. I
can't let you negresses do math for NASA.
Oh no, that was the one. Okay, I confused that with the Hidden Colors, the Tariq Nasheed's joints.
The fuck with Hidden Colors? What are Hidden Colors?
Tariq Nasheed urban documentaries.
Is it hit or is it like black people playing hide and go seek? Because that's hilarious if it is.
Hidden colors.
Oh,
That's hidden colors.
Hidden color. New Jack City is fucking great.
yeah.
When Nino Brown grabs the little girl at the wedding as a shield. Oof.
That little girl was me.
And when Wesley Snipes grabbed that little girl. Jesus Christ. Any movie where a white person is telling a black person they can't do something after like what's the football movie with Denzel Washington?
The Titans?
Remember the Titans. After Remember the Titans was just too much. Remember the movie with Terrence Howard and the black swim team? I can't let these niggas swim in my pool.
God.
It was just like the first ever black jousting team. They came in third in nationals. The first ever black NASCAR driver. We can't let these niggas race on our track.
Jason, he will get the Klan mail directly to his box.
Those movies were just, after a while, it's like, man, this racism is getting so specific. Like, I watched Roots, and Roots is designed to make you angry. The Jamaican bobsled team. We can't let these niggas ride in the snow. It's always the same thing, right? He was the first ever black cop to beat up another black person.
Nice.
We can't let these niggas take our fun.
Cool Runnings. It was called Cool Runnings. That's right.
The Lewis Hamilton movie is going to be wild. The first black ice skater. Wasn't that Debbie Thomas? Do you guys remember Debbie Thomas? Am I the only person that knows about ice skating on this show right now?
I remember Debbie Thomas.
I remember her.
She had a mushroom haircut.
She did have a mushroom haircut. That was like the official black girl cut.
Regina
King.
What's her last name? Regina King.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had it on TG7.
The size of your mushroom determined the size of how ghetto you was.
Is
Is that a fair assessment of the mushroom cut? If your mushroom was out to here, she was bad.
Didn't Gina have one in the Kid and Play movie?
Who?
Gina?
Not really.
Tisha Campbell.
Tisha Campbell, no.
No, it was more of a rap.
Yeah, but if you had the mushroom cut, and if your shit was out to here, watch out.
That's right.
Watch out. That's trouble. That's trouble. That woman is trouble.
Folks, I want to sign off for now.
Well, let's all sign off. Thank you guys for joining us on this Juneteenth.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to hear what you guys have to say about Blaxploitation cinema. What are your favorite movies? What do you miss about that era? Are you glad it's gone? Do you actually like Spike Lee movies? Do you do the Wakanda Forever salute when you greet your family members? Did you go watch Black Panther in a dashiki? American Fiction won a bunch of Oscars, and I've never seen anyone talk about it since.
Interesting.
Is the moment of black cinema over post George Floyd. Leave your comments in the comment section. We'll read them angrily and probably respond.
No champagne room tonight.
Nope, tomorrow night. We're going to talk about even more black shit with Touré Reed.
Touré.
If you thought Juneteenth was just one day, oh, no, no, no. Juneteenth is every day.
Shout out to Paul Prescott, who was also in the chat.
Oh, hell yeah. Shout out to Paul. Paul, remember, don't watch Soul Plane or your credit score will lower 10 points. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and we are
Out.